All right, let's get into this conversation now. The Congress of South African Trade Unions has vowed to return to the streets if government does not address its demands. Thousands of members from the Federation, including the SACP and Fedusa, protested today over the sluggish economic growth, retrenchments, the rising cost of living and poor working conditions. Cosatu's first deputy president is Mike Shingange, who joins us this evening to take stock of the protest today. Mr. Shingange, good evening to you and thank you for your time. How would you measure the success of today's march? What is it that you think makes it successful?
Good evening, Colin. Good evening to your viewers. No, we think that overall today was a good day in office for the workers, the working class in general. The Cosatu and those civil society that came to join really showed their force out there on the street. So we think that the workers have responded to the call of their affiliates, to the call of the Central Executive Committee. Workers have come out and sacrificed their day's salary today in order to defend and back up their demands that they are undergoing on a daily basis. So we are satisfied about the turnout today.
Before we get to the nitty-gritties, essentially why you decided to embark on this nationwide march. There will always be criticism, particularly when you are going to take workers out of their jobs. With the state of the economy where it is, I don't need to repeat what Musa said in their statement, but in not so many words, that you are, quote unquote, misusing the Section 77 notice of the Labour Relations Act. Do you believe that this is a right strategy to interrupt the economy, even if for one day, when the state of the South African economy is not so good?
Okay. To start with, today it's an International Day of Decent Work. It's a day that is commemorated across the globe, wherein workers across the world have identified the 7th of October as a day in which they must demand that which will constitute a fair working environment, living conditions of their members and the society they live in, but also a decent work in general. So it's not a South African phenomenon. However, every country, every year, identify the most pressing issues at that time or that year in order to highlight them. The Central Executive Committee of Cosatu early in February will have identified the rampant misuse of Section 189 by people like Busa to retrench workers. It's one thing for them to say that we're misusing Section 77. They are misusing or abusing Section 189, that they are retrenching workers across all the sectors in the private sector. But of course, there's an attempt to even strengthen that section even further to allow the public service also itself to retrench. There's a rampant undermining and attack on the collective bargain, which then the Central Executive Committee said, not unless workers stand up and defend collective bargaining, there will be no use that we have got these institutions that they are supposed to democratize the labor market and the workplace if they are not defended. You will know that whether it's public service, whether it's private sector, the collective bargaining is no longer respected in this country. Like I said, the retrenchment, but also the high cost of living that they has heightened now. The money, the profit that the workers' blood and sweat goes to the people like Busa through a profit, but they continue to retrench workers, they continue to casualize workers, they continue to pay meager salaries. We identify that more than ever before, Busa in particular, they are holding the hands of the president of the country from implementing the national health insurance, because Busa, they see people who are sick in this country, those who are unemployed, who are sick, as a market from which they must make a profit. When government and South African people have struggled for 20 years to ensure that there's a universal healthcare coverage to all our people. And the government and all political parties involved in the country and civil society have participated in the public hearings that were taking place. Majority of South Africans said they wanted national health insurance. Political parties in parliament, in their majority, they voted the act. It will be passed by and signed by the president. Busa today is holding a gun and holding our country at ransom because they want to protect business that when I am sick, they want to see me having money for them as a profit. Even though my medical aid, if it gets exhausted in a private hospital, I get taken to the public hospital. That's what we're fighting for, we're against today.
Yeah.
That's why we invited Busa to come and take a memorandum so they can hear what we think and what we feel about them. So we are not misusing. Criticisms, yes, they will always be there. Criticism will always be there. When you are involved in the kind of business we're involved in, there will have been criticism before, there's a criticism today, there will be criticism tomorrow. However, you don't stop struggling because some people are having a different view about you. We're having a different view about them for that matter.
Yeah.
The economy, if the economy was working well, truly, if there was no problem about our economy, we wouldn't be on the street today. The reason we're in the street today is because precisely that, the economy is not working well. We are making that point loud and clear that something needs to give.
Yeah. And I can't fault you there, Mr. Shingange, about the state of the South African economy. Today, I was actually talking to the Acting Director General of the Department of Employment and Labour, and they are increasing the budget of the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme. It's the TERS scheme for short. So that budget is increasing from 400 million rather, to 2.4 billion. And they're saying that this is going to go towards aiding companies that are in distress so that those companies do not retrench workers as a result of them being in financial distress. I just want to frame this question properly before I hand back to you. We went further to actually point out the sectors that are losing jobs right now. And those are the sectors that I suspect this 2.4 billion is going to be channeled towards. Mining has lost 5,153 jobs. Manufacturing, over 2,000 jobs. Telecommunications, over 1,600 jobs. These are jobs that have already been lost, and they are worried that more and more companies are going into distress. How do you think the South African economy can be turned around? And perhaps, I can't resist this one, does it disappoint you that mining, which is headed by a former unionist, is losing jobs in the manner it is? What conversations are you having with Gwede Mantashe?
No, I don't know if Gwede Mantashe owns a mining company or whether it's just a minister, because Gwede Mantashe could be a minister of energy or even of minerals, but he doesn't own the mines. It's disappointing that as a state we are not able to discipline capital, because the stats you are raising now on mining, on the retail, and all those all the sectors. These are corporates that they have been benefiting from the corporate tax reduction by the state. The public money, our taxpayers, as we pay, is taken by government into the hands of the private sector by reducing corporate tax. But there's no accountability. They are not being asked to hold the retrenchments. The more the government reduce corporate tax in order to put incentives for them to keep jobs, they are not demanding guarantees that because you are paying less tax, you must now therefore protect jobs. So these numbers that you're talking about have been going in and like that every now and then, including the existence of the youth employment scheme that existed for a long time. it didn't guarantee the growth of the employment. It didn't guarantee the protection of the jobs that were there. It actually, what it did, it exacerbated the exploitation of these young people that will come in at a young age, get this the incentive when they are at the age of 40 or so, they get retrenched so that the government must give more money for more people to come in. Even this thing of the temporary relief scheme, as you said, is going to be increased to 4 billion. Whenever it was a 400 million, it didn't stop the beneficiaries of these the subsidies from government to at least protect the job, because that's the intention. The intention of government to ensure that they subsidize these companies, to ensure that we must hold the people who are losing jobs and then see if we can create more jobs. But what they do, they rake the money in as profits, but they continue to retrench workers. So perhaps policies must be developed to strengthen that those who receive public money in a form of treasuries incentive for Department of Labor, for that matter, they must at least guarantee that they're not going to retrench workers. So I will sit here and speak about former trade unions or not. The fact is that the private sector is not playing ball in it as far as the economy of this country is concerned, as far as job security of this country is concerned. But of course, the state has got its fair share on this matter. That is why our marches today across the country were both in private sector, the JSE and the BUSA and the Discovery, including government departments.